once you understand it, the solution is eternal. So there is a nice story in Hinduism. Is there anyone who is aware of this story, Mahabharata? Even at the time we are having discussion, if you simply look into yourself and see, how do I feel right now? You are mindful. The concepts of karma and dharma can establish law and order throughout the nation. It doesn't matter whether you are a monk or not. Studying your mind is something you can do it wherever you are. But if you want to teach it to others, then you have to get into a platform. Even while you pray at church, you can check what is happening. The blissfulness, the calmness, experience it. Once you are experiencing what is happening inside, it's gradually the mind starts to uncover its chemistry. Good morning, everyone. So you are in a nun's monastery. The lady that you just met, she is the chief nun of this place. As I'm aware, there are about 3 other nuns who are on another mission at the particular moment. I could remember that Vijay was explaining about the nuns in Sri Lanka. Yes, there was some troubles time for their ordination, but now I think some legal barriers are they have passed those legal barriers and they accommodate their registration. Those kind of things are sorted. So I have to be thankful first for the chief nun here providing this wonderful facility for this session. And also, you're aware that currently Sri Lanka is undergoing certain issues due to this storm which occurred recently. And in that case, we stand in solidarity with the people who have affected by the floods, affected by landslides. And I believe, I wish that they have the courage and they have the strength to overcome and rise up again. I know that your wishes are the same. So in order to start with the today's discussion, I would like to explain about 2 different paths specifically. Now, in your nearly 14 days tour in Sri Lanka, I believe you have experienced the natural beauty, the culture and the livelihood of people. You might have had a certain level of experience on these aspects. And now you are going to experience the spiritual experience, the spiritual nature in Sri Lanka. We all seek for something. We might not call it spiritual or religious, but we want to get relieved from the mental suffocation which we have. And I know, as you guys are very well experienced set of group, when you experience life, people get this feeling that it doesn't matter how much of material wealth that we have accumulated, there is a certain point those material wealth cannot help us when we are mentally drained. The current situation in the country where some people, majority of people in Sri Lanka are experiencing is something like that. They have had acquired material wealth by way of houses, estates, their own businesses, vehicles, you name it. But it took only a second to wipe out all those material accumulations. So due to that fact, they are undergoing a tremendous level of mental distress. The government, the public, maybe the international community can provide aid, money and other things for them. But the mental trauma is something which is really difficult for somebody to overcome simply by accumulating wealth. So that is where the spirituality plays its role, to help people to overcome their mental struggles. Right? To overcome mental struggles, there are different avenues. I won't say it is only the spiritual path. If somebody wants to get an immediate relief, they might go to a bar and have some liquor. Or maybe the latest generation, they go for some other LSDs and other illicit drugs, cannabis maybe. So it is also another way to overcome mental suffocation, but temporarily. And if you give up that path, then there is another way where psychiatrists play their role and they give drugs, which are again, if it is prescribed, not prescribed by an authorized personnel, it is another illicit drug, right? So by way of those medication, also people can overcome mental suffocation, but temporarily. Then there is another path called the religious path, where we have a belief system. We believe in God. We believe in some entity. That faith can help people to overcome their mental suffocation, provided that if they believe in that concept. That's another path. Then comes finally the spiritual path. The spiritual path differs from all those other avenues which I described, particularly because in spirituality, it is a process of investigation. It is not a belief system, or it is not a drug. Therefore, since it's an investigation, the result would become eternal. It is not temporary. Once you understand something, simply you understand it. By investigation, you understand it. Once you understand it, the solution is eternal. I will give you an example, right? Can you remember your childhood days? On the very first day when you go to a school or to a kindergarten, the teacher might have given you lessons about addition, maths. She might have told you, I have one apple in hand and you have another apple in hand. Both together, how many apples do we have? The simple mathematics. 1 plus 1, 2. Maybe for some of you, or maybe most of us, it was difficult at that time to grasp that concept of addition, simple mathematics. 1 plus 1, 2. So, if you can remember, I do remember by my own experience, when there were higher numbers are given, I used to use my fingers. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Then I calculate all the numbers I have, all the fingers I have folded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 plus 4, 7. Why do I have to put some effort to do it? A simple mathematics. Because I have not understood the concept of addition. Okay? When we have not understood a concept, it is very difficult to apply it in our day-to-day life. But now, you have come to the realization of mathematics, basics. If I say 3 plus 4, in a second, you can give me an answer, 7. How can you apply that right now, but not those days? simply because you have understood it. You are enlightened on mathematics. You have realized it. So can you see what spirituality is trying to do? There is some basic understandings that which we lack. The basic understanding on what? How our mind works. You might have done 13 years or 12 years education in school. Thereafter 2, 3 years or 4 years a degree, a basic degree. And then after that advanced degrees, PhDs. Unless you have done psychology as a subject, have you ever studied about human mind? Was it a fundamental course like language, like mathematics, like science in your early childhood? It was not. Right? But unfortunately, we have to deal with this subject. That means our mind. There is no way we can give up. It's a compulsory subject. Until our moment of death. It is a compulsory subject. But who have mastered it? Nobody. So why did I say that spirituality is an investigation? It is an investigatory path which helps you to understand how your mind works. Simple as that. So once you get to know how your mind works, it's very easy to live. There is no struggle or less struggle. Maybe materialistically, logistically, you are incapable. Okay? Disabled. Or maybe physically you are disabled. But mentally you are strong because you have understood the subject. Right. So I will tell you a nice story because I believe that you are very much interested in listening to stories rather than listening to a lecture. I heard that Vijay told you in the bus that you have been discussing about Buddhism, Buddhist philosophy very much. So I am going to introduce something in Hindu spirituality to you, right? Because more or less all these paths joins at one point. Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, all these things. It's all about a study about the mind, right? Nothing more than that. So there is a nice story in Hinduism. Is there anyone who is aware of this story, Mahabharata? It's like Odyssey. The Greek mythology story, Odyssey, the Troy War. There is one epic mythological story in India, which is very much revered by the Indian society, named Mahabharata. It's a war. It was a war, a story about a war like Troy War between two clans named Kauravas and Pandyas, the Kaurava dynasty and the Pandava dynasty. This happened in Kurukshetra, which is currently the New Delhi, the capital of India, in that particular area. Where at that time, that particular empire was ruled by the Pandya, the Kaurava clan. And there was a dictator. That was the issue. His name was Duryodhan. He was a very cruel leader. Therefore, the Pandyas had to wage war to outthrow him from the empire and to establish the law and order and to put a stop to his dictatorship. So that's how the Mahabharata war happened. But that's not the point which I am going to describe. It's a very long story. But right after the Mahabharata, these Pandyas, the kings, there were 5 members in the family. They were the victorious group after the war. 5 members. The eldest name was Yudhishthira. So they fought for the justice. They forced for justice. They waged a war against an evil king. Then the story says, but after the demise, when Yudhishthira was the only person who was allowed to enter to heaven. So he went to heaven. Unlike the Christian heaven, the Indian heaven is it's very much crowded. Right? There's only one God in Christian heaven, but there are about 33 million gods in Indian heaven. Right? Ruled by one God known as Indra. Indra is the head. So when someone enters into heaven, he was summoned to Indra's congregation. So all the other gods are beside him. Indra is at the throne. So Yudhishthira came in front of Indra. So he was welcomed by Indra. Okay, you are welcome to heaven. Then Yudhishthira looked around for his brothers. There should be 4 more who fought for justice. But they were not there. But that evil king, the dictator who lost the war and died, his name was Duryodhana. He was sitting in the heaven. So Yudhishthira was so worried about this. He started shouting, how can this happen? Where are my brothers? So Indra said, I am sorry to say, they are in hell. So then Yudhishthira asked, how injustice it is. They fought for justice. They ended the cruelty of this Duryodhana. Now who is sitting with you in heaven? He is the one who is supposed to be in hell, but my brothers are the one who is in hell. I want to see them. I want to see them. So now he is very much angry. Yudhishthira is angry. Indra said, okay, calm down. I will take you to the hell. You can pay a visit to your brothers. That's the only thing I can do. Okay, let's go. So both of them went down the road to hell. Supposed to be down, not on up. Right? So they went to the hell, and he heard his brothers are screaming because of the fires in hell. So he was very mad. He was cursing Indra, he was cursing all the gods, he was cursing all the religious scripts. What a bullshit that you have been preaching to us. You said if you do good, you will go to heaven. But what has happened to my brothers? They did good all the way through their life, but they are in hell. Then Indra said, shush. Yudhishthira, please calm down. Yes, your brothers are in hell. But take a breath and look, where are you right now? Where is he now? He is also in the hell. He was in heaven, but now he is also in hell. This is a very great philosophical story which elaborates a lot about spiritual path. One point, whether we make ourselves a heaven, whether we make our life a hell, depends on what we are thinking on. That is the only fact which can drive us either to heaven or to hell. And the other point, the very word the Indra said, calm down and look at you. Where are you right now? The only way for us to figure out whether we are in hell or whether we are in heaven, or whether we are on the path to hell or whether we are on the path to heaven, is by looking inward. Not by looking at what happened to my brothers, what happened to my children, what happened to my estate, what happened to my business. No. If you can look into yourself at least for a second, here, at this moment, where you are, that is the way, that is the point that you can decide and check whether I am in hell or heaven, or whether I am on the way to hell or heaven. Do you understand? So in Buddhist spirituality, to identify this particular moment, which is what is happening inside me, that is the entire pathway to study what is happening in the human mind. The Buddhist philosophy introduces a practice called mindfulness. I believe you have heard of it. Mindfulness is not something which you check what happened to your brothers, what happened to your sisters, what happened to your family, what happened to your estates. It's a particular moment that you take a breath and check what is happening to me at the moment. Even at this moment, at the time we are having discussion, if you simply look into yourself and see, how do I feel right now? You are mindful. Do you understand? So that is the spiritual experience that you are going to get from this session. This practice was here in Asia for thousands of years. Right? You may see even in Sri Lanka, we are not financially stable country. We underwent a state of bankruptcy a couple of years ago. And now we are facing, with the bankruptcy at the end of it, we are facing, he said, about $1 billion loss. But still, people are in solidarity with the people who have affected. They are helping in every way which is possible. Even before the government take over the recovery process, the people have self-motivated and taken the baton to their hand and helping every corner, every city. They are collecting funds, raising dry rations and distributing, taking their own vehicles, motorbikes, going through the landslides, reaching the most difficult corner in the affected areas and try to distribute. Why? Why? That is because their mind has been nurtured by this spirituality for a very long time. In countries like ours, when it is not financially stable, the economy or the law and order cannot do much in a difficult situation. Even in day-to-day running, the economy or the law and order cannot establish justice, but the conscience can. The concepts of karma and dharma can establish law and order throughout the nation. The concept of karma and dharma can distribute the economy equally to every corner. I don't know whether you are aware of this term karma and dharma.
No, dharma.
Dharma is the path which I told you just before. Looking into them, studying the mind. That is dharma. Karma is the repercussions of your own deeds, own actions, consciously done actions. Consciously done actions. The result of consciously done actions. Not unconsciously, not involuntarily. That is the two main concepts which underlies throughout this region, which establish law and order, which establish economical equality and social equality. Can you see? But that's a social impact. But individually, if you, by simply being mindful, if you can study what happens and get to know what is happening here, then at least at this stage you are starting to learn something which you have missed for many years. Actually, I believe that should have been the very first thing that we have been taught, how our mind works. Not mathematics, not science, not geology. How the mind works. Can we see? So, my humble invitation for you is try to incorporate mindfulness in your day-to-day life, which will help you to learn this vast subject, the mind. Once you get to know it, it will automatically apply in your day-to-day life. You don't have to remember what was there on the script, what was there on the Bible, what was there on the Buddhist script, what was there on Bhagavad Gita, what was there on Quran. You don't have to recall. You have simply understood, it will automatically apply without your knowledge. As like now you can do addition without any support of your fingers. 1 + 1 2. You simply know that because you have understood it. Right? Then, what is here to understand? Why do we have to understand? And here we know that there are mental conflicts. By understanding the mind, what is there to understand as the reason for this mental conflict? What do you think? What is there to understand and what is the reason for this mental conflict? Between two individuals. When there is a conflict, what is the reason for it? The main misunderstanding when there is a conflict between a group or between a clan or between two individuals, that we think we dwell in the same universe. Have you ever thought of for a moment that we do not live in the same universe? And you have been traveling for 14 days, right? You may be thinking that you are experiencing Sri Lanka, all of you. Why not? You were in Galle, Udawalawa. Have you seen elephants? You saw elephant? Did you see an elephant? So you both saw an elephant. So what do I say? But I say no, but you didn't see the same elephant. If you are not mindful enough, you will not realize this. You will think, what I see, she can see. What I believe, she is believing. What I think, she is thinking. That is the very moment the conflict arises. We have no sense at all that we live in our separate universes, in our separate matrix, stuck within. That is the universal truth which spirituality will uncover to you. Right? Then don't believe me because I say this. Then you have to question me because there is no dogma here. This is not the religious path, as I said earlier. Right? And I am not going to offer you any LSD or alcohol. This is the path of inquiry. You have to question me, why do you say that we do not believe in the same earth? Why? If you are mindful, you will uncover this particular chemistry inside you. Because of two reasons, we don't live in the same earth. One, there are two barriers which prevents us experiencing the same universe. One barrier, one is that. I will come from the physiological barrier. The first one is a physiological barrier. We are using whispers. Why? Some of you can't hear properly. If I take off the whispers, few of you can hear me, others can't. That's a physiological barrier. All our five senses, eyes, ears, nose, the taste and the skin, limited It is unique from one person to another. So our physical perceptions differs from one person to another. There are color blinds who cannot see red and green. I think so. So if you show a red apple to a colorblind person, he would never see red color. Who is wrong? He would say it is ash. Who is wrong? Is he wrong? Or are you wrong? It is from your perspective that is the truth. Red is there. From his perspective, red is no longer there. He is also telling the truth. So the first barrier which prevents us from experiencing the same universe is a physiological barrier. The second one, as you said, it's a psychological barrier. Depending on our experience about life, depending on the information we have gathered, depending on the data which we are possessing, we interpret the world. The way you interpret the elephant would not be the same way that she interprets. If she is a wildlife specialist, she will interpret whether that elephant is he or she. Yes, we physiologically take experiences, but the interpretation happens psychologically. The psychological barrier will determine whether we experience the same universe or not. That's the second barrier. Can you see? Since we all have our own set of data inside psychologically, since we have our limitations physiologically, none of us can experience the same Sri Lanka, though you have paid the same amount. It will never happen. But we did not know that. So we have struggles. When she says that elephant is black, I say no, that is white. And then there's a conflict. And you see, with your children, your daughter may say, no, I'm going to the party. I have to be late. I will be late. But you say, no, you can't be late. That is your perspective. That's her perspective. I'm not telling you what is right or wrong. I'm just simply telling you there are two perspectives. If you have no sense at all that we are looking at the world in two different ways, two individuals, there will always be conflicts. Do you realize? That is the importance of understanding the mind. If you do not know the chemistry, the conflict will never end. Right? So, therefore, there are different ways which can help you to understand, to be mindful. To understand the mind, there is only one way, that is being mindful. There is no other way. There is no drug. There is no scan. You cannot go to a hospital and ask for a test to understand your mind. There is no way. There is only one way, being mindful. Right? But there are different ways to improve mindfulness. Different ways. Mindfulness is a skill of your mind itself. There are different ways. Here we are going to introduce a meditative path where we use meditation to increase the level of mindfulness. But there are other ways. I have to say that. Now let's say if you are a chef and your profession is cooking. While you cook, if you are aware of what is happening inside the mind with the cooking experience, let's say you are a dancer, while you perform, if you can be with your mind what is happening while you perform your dance, while you perform in front of an audience, that is also a way to increase mindfulness. So you can use any career, any activity to be mindful. And meditation, seated meditation is also another very good thing, where I always propose at least to invest 1 hour of your daily life for this practice, at least 1 hour, right? And when you invest that, my proposal is to do it as early as possible, right? That means right after you wake up. Don't postpone it. If you postpone it, you will never do this. because you have been postponing it for a very long time, right? For everyone, my advice is, right after you get up from your bed, do this. Don't even wash your face. Don't brush your teeth. What do you have to do? Now you have 60 minutes to invest. You divide that 60 minutes into 3 parts. 20, 20, 20. The first 20 minutes to do meditation, you have to warm up and make your body ready for that, unless it is very difficult, right? For the first 20 minutes, do a simple exercise which will help you to warm up the body, right? Depending on your age, depending on your health and other physical capacity, do an exercise which will make you sweat or at least warm up. 20 minutes. The next 20 minutes is the meditation. You put an alarm for 20 minutes, then you don't have to worry about the time. And if you have never done meditation, don't worry to do it for 20 minutes, at least do it for 5 minutes and gradually increase the time. So you put an alarm for 20 minutes and you sit in the most comfortable position which you can. It doesn't matter whether you're on a chair, it doesn't matter. If you can be on the floor, cross legs, that's a different story. Select the most comfortable position, because for the 20 minutes you have a little bit of struggle not to change the posture, right? So it is always better if you can keep your spine straight and also your chin parallel to earth, your face forwarding. Why? Because when you keep your head in this posture, when you fall asleep, you can easily recognize. Your head will tilt like this. If you start meditation like this, you will never know when you went to sleep, right? So the posture is, you have to put a little bit of concern there. That means the straight posture and the most comfortable posture and also the chin. So from my experience, I know that keeping your legs crossed is not a comfortable posture to meditate. So try to rest your feet separately on the floor. That is very comfortable if you're on a chair. Then what do you do in meditation? You gently close your eyes. Gently close your eyes. Do nothing. You do not have to concentrate on anything. What you have to do is just to observe what is happening inside. Because this is an investigation. There is no way to go. There is no end point. You investigate what is happening right now. You close your eyes and observe what happens. So generally what happens, for first 5 seconds, no thought will come to your mind when you do that. But after the 5th second, the thoughts will start to fall like a waterfall. The first thought will come and you will start thinking about based on that. You observe. The thought you observe, thinking you observe. Then the next thought will come. You observe. You are not forcefully stopping it. You observe only. Create an artificial gap between yourself and your thoughts and you observe. So sometimes there won't be any thoughts, but you will hear buses honking and your body sweating. I know this place is a bit warm, right? And you feel that sweat coming out. You feel that your cheeks are burning. All those are sensations. Thoughts, sensations. You can observe these two things. And also emotions. Occasionally, with a thought, you will feel happy. You will smile with yourself. Occasionally, you will go angry. I don't know. Maybe the feeling, emotion of lust will come. We never know. So 3 things you can basically observe. Thoughts, sensations, body sensations, sounds, everything. Emotions. For 20 minutes you observe these 3 things, what is happening inside. Then the last 20 minutes, you have to do a little bit of journaling. Keep a diary or a notebook with you. Put the date and write down the thoughts, sensations, emotions which came to your mind during the 20 minutes of meditation. Very simple. right? If you are a beginner, as I said, don't go for 20 minutes, at least do 5 minutes meditation. But work out 20 minutes, no excuse, right? You have to be physically active. It's good for your health. And if you continue with all three practice, it is good for your mind. Both body and mind will be worked out balancedly. Do you understand? So this is a very simple exercise, which I always propose to everyone to incorporate to their life. And also you have to understand there's another thing, that for some people it's very difficult to meditate, right? Maybe mind is talking too much. For them, there is another way. You don't have to meditate, but you can increase the length of exercise. 20 minutes, you can do exercise 40 minutes. So during the exercise also, you get thoughts, emotions, sensations. You write down at the last 20 minutes what happened during the exercise session. The same thing. Now what is happening here? You are working out your mindfulness. This will help you to increase your mindfulness, and thereafter the rest of the day you will see automatically you don't have to forcefully apply mindfulness. Automatically you are mindful. When somebody teases you, when somebody makes you angry, you are automatically mindful. You are looking at your inside. You are checking whether you are in hell or heaven, like Yudhishthira. You understand? That is what we need. It's a very simple thing. There is no magic here, right? If somebody can put at least 1% of effort for this practice, he will start to reap the harvest. There are no dogmas. There is no place to worship. We worship Buddha because he showed this path. That's it. It's just to pay our gratitude, right? Otherwise, this is simply an art of living. It doesn't matter which belief system that you are in. You may be a Catholic, you may be a Hindu, you may be an Islamic. It doesn't matter. You can be mindful. Even while you pray at church, you can check what is happening. The blissfulness, the calmness, experience it. Once you are experiencing what is happening inside, it's gradually the mind starts to uncover its chemistry. This is what is happening, this is what is not happening. You realize? So that is what spirituality is all about. So I believe my explanation was a bit long, but if you have any questions before we go for a short meditation session, do you have any questions? I would love to answer. Please, yes. Don't hesitate. Yes.
So we didn't talk about the breath. I guess one thing I've been taught, just observe your breathing in and breathing out.
Yes. Yes. Good question. Now when we talk about meditation, in meditation there are two lineages. One is stillness meditation, one is mindfulness meditation. Stillness meditation is also important, but you have to remember stillness meditation is also like a drug. It is, the relief is temporary. If you try to artificially focus your mind to one particular point, maybe it is your breath, maybe a bright light, I don't know. That is stillness. You are trying to still your mind. Of course, there is a great relief, but it is temporary. But if you start with the breath, it doesn't matter. But then the breathing stops, you start to thinking, but you stay with the thinking also. Then you are doing mindfulness. You are not going to change your mind. There is no target to achieve. Then you are doing mindfulness meditation. If you have a target in mind, then it becomes a stillness meditation. Can you see? So your stillness practice, if you are have been doing the stillness practice, it is also very much fruitful. But if you want to go for a permanent relief, of course you have to understand what happens. To understand, you have to observe, not to pressure your mind. You understand? It's two different things. How do you do the breathing thing? Where is the focal point? Stomach? Alright, great. If someone is interested in, I will elaborate that also. Someone is interested in breathing meditation, what you have to do is, the posture is the same, facing forward, erect posture. First, what you have to do is, you have to gently close your eyes and observe your entire breathing process, what happens. For few seconds, you observe it for 30 seconds or 60 seconds. Then you will note there are focal points in your breathing. It is different from one person to another. Now for her, she feels the breath at her stomach. For some people, it could be the nostrils. For some people, it could be inside the nostrils. It is different. For some, it is the throat. For some, it is the chest. So what you do is, for first minute, you focus on the entire breath and select the focal point. The first priority, the first most focal, then also the second most focal. Your first focal point may be the stomach. Let's say the second one is nostril. That is also important. You have to get to know that also. Because once then you start focusing on this. Now this is not vipassana, mindfulness. This is stillness. You focus on the stomach. What happens is, gradually, thereafter you can't detect it. Once you cannot detect it, you can go to the second point, the nostrils. So gradually, if you know the priority list of your focal points, you can go gradually with the breathing. So that's a different thing. But with the limited time that we have only 1 hour. So please excuse me, I cannot, forgive me and excuse me, I cannot explain everything. So this is a very long process. What I have given here is the basic introduction. Once you are mindful, you will get to know little by little. There are a lot to learn about mind. Lot to learn. Lot of different secrets. I cannot put this much of number. No, the course content is too vast, right? But at least if you can get 5% of knowledge about this, that's enough. 5% is enough. If you know 100%, you are Buddha. You are like him.
Your explanation of stillness versus
mindfulness
is really important, because I'm thinking that she and I went to the same idea of, where we learned meditation was to start
same
with
place?
breathing. No, very far away, but I think we may have had similar experiences in that focus on the breathing, only breathing, and to maximize our time.
Yes.
And
then you have to get to know that is also a path. That is stillness meditation path. I don't say it is wrong. It is like now in the hospital, you have OPD, outdoor patient unit, and the surgical unit. So at the outdoor patient unit, you will only get a pain relievers to overcome the pain. But the problem is still there. To get rid of the problem, you have to go to a surgery. So mindfulness is the surgical level. Stillness is like a pain reliever.
Yes. Let me test and then ask you a question. So mindfulness is, if I'm negotiating with somebody and I feel, I'm getting irritated by him. Oh, maybe it's he's wearing a cologne that reminds me of somebody else. I mean, is that mindfulness? So I should not do this. I should be careful and be aware where my mind is taking me subconsciously. So if that's the case, is that what you mean by mindful, knowing what's happening inside my brain? And then even if that happens, what is the ultimate goal? Is that supposed to be?
Very good question. Now that is what I said. This is within the short time. I cannot explain the next steps, but I will tell you. Now, obviously, I will share a link with your friend Vijay, which it's a YouTube link which has a number of discussions which I have done on this subject. It will help you to get more advanced knowledge. But for your question, I will tell you this. Now, when a situation where you get angry because of an action of another person, right? So you become mindful and you get to know the very first thing that you are angry. The very first thing, you are angry. As a beginner, that is enough. To get to know that you are angry, that is enough. Why am I saying this? Now Buddha uses a very nice example to say this. Let's say you are walking on a jungle trail, right? A small walking path. When you raise your foot before placing the next step, you see a venomous snake in front. You see the snake. It's like you are seeing that you are angry. You see the snake. Then Buddha asks, when you see a venomous snake, do I have to tell you where to place the foot? In spirituality, in Buddhism, it does not prescribe you what to do. It is not a dogma. If he prescribes what to do, it becomes a dogma. You have to follow what he says. It is not like that. He will show you the problem, the snake. You decide what to do. So that's why I tell you, even the first step is very much important. You know that you are angry. Obviously, you know what to do, right? Now, then again, there's another step. I will tell that also. So there may be a point you are angry and you can't figure out a way to overcome it, or you can't figure out the reason for it. Then there is a wonderful exercise that is also in mindfulness path. Mindfulness preaching is a very elaborative preaching. There is one particular discourse of Buddha which elaborates almost everything comprehensively, which is known as Satipatthana Sutra. If you can refer it online, Google it and refer, it's in English also. There he says a step called Kayanupassana. That means if you are angry and you do not know what to do and what is the cause of it, you check what happens to your body with that emotion. You are angry, you start from head and scan your entire body until the toes. How do you do this? Now you are angry, right? You see what is the sensation here on the tip of the head. Is it warm? Is it relaxed? It is tensed? It is cool, chilled? Then you go to forehead. Am I sweating? Is it warm? Go through your body and see what is feeling you right now. Likewise, with all uncomfortable, unexplainable, irritating emotions, you can scan your body starting from the top to toes. That is another step. Can you see? With the emotion you can do this. There are so many other things. I don't know, Vijay will curse me if I keep you very long, because I want to introduce another practice also to you, which has this body scanning thing. So, have I answered your question, or do you want more explanation? Right? First thing which I said is, knowing anger is enough, because you know the snake is there. I don't have to tell you what to do. Then the second step, with the anger or with lust or with envy or with whatever the uncomfortable emotion or maybe the comfortable emotion, you can scan the body. That will also help you to increase your level of mindfulness. Please, I would love to have more questions from you.
It occurs to me that a lot of what you're describing in mindfulness is egocentric. How does that correspond with looking after your fellow person?
Okay. Is it egocentric? We have to question. If you feel something, if it is egocentric or non-egocentric, if you are a spiritual being, you have to investigate and see, is it true? My mind says something like that. Is it true? Right? What happens in mindfulness? Now, in an event of anger, if you are mindful, you will learn a beautiful chemistry about mind. How do we go angry? We go angry because we think what we believe and what we think is the ultimate. Right? If he says that he is angry with somebody, that person has nothing to do with the anger. You have a frame inside your mind, so hard frame. This is the only way it should happen. This is the only way it's supposed to be happening. Right? If somebody goes against your mental frame, you will go angry. That is the only reason for somebody to go angry. By being mindful, by looking at it, you are not simply looking at your mind like a fool. You observe this mental frame. When your mindfulness increases, you can see the frame. Okay, why on earth I am thinking like this? Why do I think this is the ultimate? Why do I think he sees the same world that I see? So then would you can say it is egocentric? No, because you are giving up for a moment your ego. Your ego is made out of the mental frames. Now, my name is Sunanda. That's a frame, right? It's simply having a frame is okay. But I have a thinking that is the ultimate frame. And somebody calls me, not Sunanda, somebody may call me Tom. If I have that hard anticipation of hearing Sunanda from someone's mouth, if somebody calls me foolish Sunanda or some Sunanda, then I will go mad, right? So my ego is made out of those hardened mental frames. Mindfulness will help you to identify the mental frame, and with the identification, the strength of the frame will be diluted. So you are losing your ego. Unless you are mindful, the ego will never stop. Simply by helping others will not help you to overcome the ego. Because you know why? Some people have developed their ego thinking that I am a very good person. I am a very selfless person. And I am the most spiritual person. That is also another frame which can develop your ego. Can you see? Right. So I believe if we have time, we will do a short, yes, we have. What we are going to do here today, remember the exercise which I told you, 60 minutes exercise, 20 minutes workout, 20 minutes observation in the mind, 20 minutes recording. This is not what we are going to practice here now. I am going to practice this thing. When we are suffering from uncomfortable emotion, right? Now this is a very serious situation, not a day-to-day event. Occasionally, because we lose someone we love, or when we face a tsunami or a cyclone like this, then we have these very distressful emotions throughout the day. It is happening very rarely. In such a case, you can use this technique, scanning the body. Now we are going to do this with certain value addition. I will guide you. This is a guided meditation. When I guide you, when I ask you to breathe in, you simply breathe in. When I ask you to breathe out, you breathe out. You follow my instructions. When I ask you to observe the body, you observe the body throughout. Right? Then the following step, I will name body parts starting from the head. Top of the head. When I say top of the head, you first observe the surface area of that part. Surface area for few seconds. Then I will guide you, I will instruct you to tense. When I say tense, you mentally tense it. You can do it, mentally tense it. Think of tensing that particular area. Hold it for 5 seconds, then I will give you another instruction saying relax. You slowly relax it. Can we do this? Then I will move on to the next part, forehead, eyebrows, eyes likewise. We will try to go down.
But you want us to think of something that will make us upset, you said to begin with? Get us
No. It doesn't matter. Now, now we don't have to go angry because we have to do the meditation. You can apply this in a moment in your day-to-day life when you are angry. Here we are going to do an exercise to check how is it affect you. Even without an angry emotion, it will help you to calm down your stress, both body and mind. Shall we do this? The first thing, think about the most comfortable position. Place your hands and feet in the most comfortable position. Don't worry about the sounds, don't worry about the heat. For mindfulness, there is no disturbance. Right? Okay, now gently close your eyes. Observe your body. If you find any uncomfortable posture, correct it. Once you have corrected your posture, we will move on. Please follow my instructions. Observe your body. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Gently open your eyes. Are you in heaven or hell? Can you see the wonders? So again, my request is to invest on yourself. I believe you have been investing on others, your kids, your grandkids, your employees, too much now. It's time to invest on yourself. And I believe if you sow, you will reap the best. Thank you very much for your participation.
Can I ask, please? Okay, when you're in forest, I understand, so you're by yourself quite often. Are you there to worship? I heard you say you don't worship Buddha because he's not God. Are you there to study further Buddha's teachings? Are you there to focus on yourself? What do you do when you are in the forest? What are your priorities as a monk? Or goals?
Yes. Now, as a monk, there are two options. Either you can be a forest-dwelling monk or a city-dwelling monk. That's the two extremes there. So I was in a meditation center for about 5 years. There we always we keep practices, and with the work we do mindfulness, try to be mindful with our work, right? And there is another part where wherever you dwell, you can either study Buddhism academically or you can do it practically. So what I selected to do is the practical part of it. Academic Buddhism, yes, there is another avenue where you can learn it from universities. There are centers where you can learn the academic scripts and all. But the practical Buddhism is the most, the noblest way, because that is the only way where you can get yourself a reward out of. So what I did was the practical part, and then when you increase the level of mindfulness, gradually you get to know what happens in the mind. Thereafter I started teaching it to others.
Do you worship Buddha?
Yes, I do. It is not because that it is something, it's simply because the Asian culture, we don't only worship Buddha, we worship our parents also. It is a way that we pay our respect. Now, in certain cultures, you may hug a person. And if you go to Middle East, they do hugging, I think 3 times, something like that. And if you are in France, they do French kisses. Maybe in US, I don't know what you do, right?
All of it.
Huh?
All of it.
Okay. But here, the way we pay respect to our elders is by worshipping. So we do the same to Buddha. We do worship our parents, just to pay respect. If you ask something, if I get something out of it, I don't think nothing much, but it's a way of paying tribute. Yes.
Well, what I've been taught is that Buddha is not a God. He is a person who has reached nirvana, highest merit. But when he is a teacher,
You are right. Buddha is not a god. He was questioned whether you are a god. He rejected. He said, "No, I am not a god." He is a human being. The difference is, he was mindful about himself and he uncovered so many secrets about the human mind. If you go through the scripts, you can see the level of his elaboration, the depth of his elaborations goes into. There is one, now as like the Bible, Buddhist, we do have a book called Tripitaka. Tripitaka is a collection of 3 books. One book is totally about, it's like he has calibrated the human mind into different emotions, how many emotions are there, how many thoughts are there, how the thoughts are generated, how the thoughts are lined up. We call it the Abhidharma, the most deepest dharma part of his teachings. So he was a person who has mastered about his mind. Therefore, he knows about everyone's mind because it is the same way that your mind and my mind is working. So once you get to know the mind, you can do magic. Because you can do the best out of your life.
thank you.
How old were you when you decided to be a monk?
I was 29. But I started the practice even when I was a layperson from very younger age. Then I continued to it, and at a certain point of my life, I thought it is better to dedicate my entire life to the spiritual path, because that is the place where I can help others mostly. So that was the point I wanted to become a monk. It doesn't matter whether you are a monk or not. Studying your mind is something you can do it wherever you are. But if you want to teach it to others, then you have to get into a platform. Otherwise, people will not believe you.
So part of being a monk is teaching the teachings.
Yes, of course. That was the very word he uttered to. I mean, when he had his first disciples, 60 disciples, the Buddha's first 60 disciples, he advised them, after 3 months of mindfulness study with Buddha, he asked them to spread across India and deliver this message to everyone, introduce this practice to everyone. So it was his advice for us to teach. That is our duty. Because we teach it to others, there is a culture which has been developed in Sri Lanka and in Asian region, where we don't have to work for remuneration.
Our food, our accommodation, our clothing, our medicine, everything is provided by the society free of charge. For what? Because we teach.
So you cannot be a monk in the forest sitting there and focusing on yourself only. You have to come out and teach.
Obviously, even in your... Now there's a choice. Now, teaching is a different thing. Everyone cannot teach. Right? If a person who cannot teach, if he tries to teach, he will actually ruin the subject. So if you cannot teach, yes, you can stay silent. Right? Being in the practice in solitude. But if you can teach, it is always advised to teach. So I have been teaching this for, now it's about 10 years in my monkhood. Since then I have been doing this in both languages. I do conduct, every month I do conduct a retreat, 4 days residential retreat for locals, and for foreigners, like these discussions and short-term retreats. Okay, right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.